ain't going back. Not gonna buy into all that. Hey, ain't gonna hide. Gonna let all the fears slide. Got mother nature on my side. Got all of the loving.
Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to the New Now. I am delighted to have a first-time guest on here, QuietBear. Bear and I have been communicating back and forth through emails for quite a bit, and with his lovely partner, wife Marcela, as well. Bear, welcome to the show. We're going to call this one Aware with Bear and begin from there. And perhaps you can give us a bit of background and, let's take this where it goes.
Excellent. It's a pleasure meeting you, Lorenzo. And, face to face, we've talked for a while. So, it's that time in our awareness in life where I'm supposed to step out and share what I know. I've been working at this for a long time. It all started, what really happened was I had a near-death experience. I was stabbed. I was a store detective, and a shoplifter stabbed me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it literally changed everything. It just changed everything. It was just I had a career path I was looking at. I'm becoming a cop. I was eventually going to learn law. I was going to get into that realm. The grandson of one of the old Supreme Court justices, and my name just left me. It was his grandson. He was a judge in Sacramento. And I testified in one of his courts, and he had told me, I want you to be a lawyer because I'll sponsor you. And then 3 days later, I got stabbed, and I just didn't even think about it anymore. I was like, I don't even want to, I've got to find out what I just did, what just happened.
You and I could have been holding hands on our path in some way. I have 3 sisters, 2 lawyers, and a chartered accountant. I took a week and my parents wanted me to become a lawyer. I have an uncle who's a lawyer, and I spent 2 or 3 days in political science in Canada. And I said, there's no way I'm putting this garbage in my head for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I just saw what a waste it was to do what I was going to be doing. And I just wanted to know. I had to find out what because I had been questioning before it happened. I was having insights. I was wondering what life was all about, like everybody does at some point in their life. And when this happened, it was just, I knew I was going to die. I could tell, I know my body. And when I was laying on the ground, I knew I was going to die. It was going to happen. And everybody was trying to reassure me that it wasn't. And then all of a sudden I was above my body. I was looking at it, and I was at total peace because I was very anxious, obviously. When you face that moment, that's what everybody fears is death. And so the biggest thing that at another time, I don't want to get into the whole experience of what I did then, but what came from it was when I was laying in the hospital bed about a day after the initial surgery of them repairing all the damage inside, it really hit me. Oh my God, we don't end. This isn't an if we don't end. This was, we don't end. Because I know whatever I experienced, I know it happens to virtually everyone, because there was a moment where I went one way into the furthering of my journey in another form, or back to where this body is. And that's what I chose. And because it's still, even there, you still have free will. You still have free choice.
What made you decide to come back?
The initial thought that I had was I had a 6-month-old son, and I wanted to see him more. I wanted to see him grow up. And that's what initially brought me back. And then it's turned into me wanting to reassure the world that there's nothing to be afraid of. We can be fearless creatures. We can be we can be courageous in our life and not being afraid of death, because that's what I wrote about this. So that's where my path has brought me to. And so with the work that I've done, the personal, intense, shamanic, internal gathering inside of myself, I knew that because of the teachings that I chose to follow, that I chose to study, which are the Twisted Hair's teachings of the elders of Turtle Island, they were a very individualistic tribe. Individual shaman would go to other tribes. They would meet back when they knew it was right, and it always worked. And they would operate as a tribe to share more of what they had learned. But then they would go back out with no guidance, no get this, do that. The sole purpose was to learn and grow through knowing humanity. And so, because the world was a tribal world in those times, we're talking thousands and thousands of years ago. We quantify it sometimes as 13,000 years ago, but it's just that's too quantified for me. It's too ego. And so we just sort of always been. And so because of who they were, who the elders were, and how it was growing, and there was no hindrance put upon it, they knew that intuitionally, they knew that there were going to be white men coming. Okay, the Spaniards, and they called them the other people. And they knew they were going to come, so they took the teachings underground, and they knew they had learned that the way to learn most, to learn the best, is to not have a label. Okay, that's why I'm very reluctant to call myself a shaman, although I use it so that people can understand, so they can comprehend as best they can what my line of study is. Okay, I'm not a Christian. I'm not an Islamist, a Muslim. I walk a different path, and so that's why I use that word. But in our teachings, we want to operate in the world without bringing attention to ourselves, because that is egoic, and they didn't use the term ego because that was invented by I think it was Freud. They called it the little self, and they were aware when the little self became infiltrated by the parasites, when the parasites started moving into this realm from another realm. That's the way we understood it. And so they knew you couldn't fight it, so they had to learn how to tame it. And that's that was the main tenet of going out and meeting as many other tribes as they could meet. And that all brings me to this moment here talking with you.
Well, maybe you can tell us a couple of things. I have two questions. Is how would you define shaman, and what do you mean by taming the parasite?
A shaman is a person that has chosen to look at themselves, look within themselves, and understand themselves as a full human, to be what a human is meant to be. Because right now, the majority of humans are not operating as we were created to do.
No kidding.
We know that.
Yeah.
And that's because of these parasites, all of these outside forces doing their best to control mankind. And the one thing is something that I'll use it a lot. Something that I really want to impress upon people is, look how long that they have tried to take us out. Look how long these controllers have tried to control us completely, and to attain things like they have in the Georgia Guidestones of reducing the population, this thing of eugenics and the population control and being in control of humans. They've tried all this time, and yet here we are. You and I are talking as two free, sovereign individuals. That's what the goal of the shamanic path that I chose is, to attain the highest that a human can attain, because it's really embracing the fact that we have a spark of creator within us. We operate, that's what operates us. And because creator has created all things, that's just a given. It doesn't judge what it's learning, what it's experiencing, what it is, because each and every word, each and everything that we do, we are furthering the creation. It's continuing to grow and expand upon itself. That's why there's people in the world. You live in Japan, I live in Central America, and we've got we're virtually alike. I mean, we have just about everything in common. It's like, you know, I'm meeting you again. You know, we're meeting each other again. This isn't a first time meeting. And that's what humanity's meant to be like. And so that's why, you know, when I was talking on the show the other night, when I made my first debut on JC's show, I wanted to impress upon people that they are just incredibly powerful beings. And the only thing that holds them down is the fact that they are incredibly powerful creator beings. They've just been taught and brainwashed and propagandized into thinking into creating the problems that we all experience okay, in life, and all these dramas and the politics and the wars and all of it. It all boils down to the parasites wanting to keep us busy so that we don't create something that they don't want. And they don't want us to be happy. They don't want, because when we're happy and joyous and living creative lives and love, then they're not getting fed. Okay. We don't have to kill them. We don't have to take them out. All we have to do is stop feeding them. You cut off the food supply and they just go away. That's all there is to it. And so that's why it came with all of the things happening in the world, all of the things happening in my life, and that mesh and the meld of it all. I finished working on Friday the 13th in the morning. I got online and I saw that JC was online because I was wondering who was going to be first, you or JC, because I was drawn to both of you. And so to both of your messages and the thing you do, the platform that you supply for other people, and you especially, dude, you guys have a pretty good thing going, and it's growing.
Yes,
because there is a great awakening happening, but the powers that be at the moment, they're doing everything they can to suppress it. They're wanting everybody to stay in fear. You know, all these dramatic false flags and all of these things. You know, it's time. It's time for people to be courageous. I mean, look how easily. I mean, this is what amazed me was how easily everybody put a mask on.
For sure.
I was astounded because I saw it was coming when I saw Mike Lindell on a video saying, we're going to make 50 million masks a month. And I was like, why the hell would they need 50 million masks a month? I sat back and I was like, they're going to put masks on everybody. It was astounding. And look what's happened. Even today, people out on a boat wearing a mask, you know, it's like, oh my goodness. So I feel like I'm talking on and on here. So.
No. What I'm finding is exactly what you've said. You know, I want to go back to Taming the Parasite and you know, how I've looked at it quite simply is, for me, everyone's been wearing a mask their whole life anyways. It's just been internalized.
You're exactly right. That's what I came to.
And it gave me a position now where I used to want to kind of go back to my old life. You know, I was like everyone else saying, you know, please let me have a comfortable life. Let me have my house. Let me have my hamburgers and my beers on the weekend, you know, and I used to be 20 odd years ago. And then I realized, you know, with the masks, and you're watching it, you know, that I was fooling myself. I had my own mask on and there's no going back. Which is great. As the shaman would say, there's only going forward. And, you know, and it gives me the ability now to see where the petty tyranny lies and lives. And so when I see a mask now, it doesn't make me long for the old days. It makes me more, let's say, determined to
know who they are now.
Yeah. Keep an eye on my own mask as well to see, well, you know, there's something I share with people, and I'm sure you do as well, is, you know, it's not enough to see the outside and how it's horrible. Right. It's not enough to see where, you know, what's going on. Like the parasites, they win fifth column, as I'm sure you understand, by sneaking in and coming out. And as you said earlier, it's how they get us by tricking us into creating the prisons we live in.
Yes.
Exactly. And so
they get us to create the ones. Yeah. We created ourselves.
You know, since we're creators, we have no choice but to create.
That's right. And because we're all, there's never a moment we're not creating. And that's where I wanted to help people shape themselves. no one can ever change anyone else. They can coerce them into doing something, but ultimately it comes down to the choice of each individual. Okay. You were asking about the taming the parasite, the ego, whatever label anyone wants to put on it, the demon, whatever. The way you stop it, the way you tame it is by being honest with yourself. Okay. This is where we exist, is down here in this area. This is where the spark resides. And so it's just being honest. And then the ego starts to fight you. And what people don't know is all you have to do is be stern with it. That's what I found through years of thinking I had to kill the ego and destroy the ego. And that's how it started off for me. And it came to me through following the teachings of the elders, of doing it in their way. They want us to do it individually. They lay out a groundwork. This is the way a ceremony is done. This is a type of ceremony you can do, all of these things, but it all comes down to your intent. And so when you intend to tame the ego, that begins the process. The ego is put on notice because it knows it's not you. It knows it. It knows it's not alive, but it thinks that if it keeps experiencing things, it knows it's meant to prevent us from getting hurt. So it goes all out on everything, trying not to get us hurt. And all that does is it causes more issues in our life, which makes the ego, it's a self-perpetuating thing. And so when you stop that self-perpetuation and say, no, I'm not going to be afraid of that. I'm not going to be fearful of this thing. I'm going to be courageous. And at that moment, it shuts up. Okay. But it will always keep trying. So it happens to me still. I still experience egoic, wetigo about things because of whatever. But there comes a moment where I go, whoa. I call that the subtle spiritual ego. It fools you into thinking that you're still being spiritual and you're doing things for your highest good when you're really not. You're just sitting there feeding the demonic forces with your loosh. And that's all it wants. It doesn't have to control you and it doesn't have to do it that way because it can do it with you pretending that the ego is yourself. Okay. And that's what I was mentioning earlier about creator. Creator doesn't judge. That's when people say, why does God make this happen? Well, because God is experiencing it all. You're the one putting the judgment of this is good or this is bad. You can think something's good and I'll think that same thing is bad. That's because we're individuals. Okay. So we're the ones that put that judgment on it. When I say we, it's this voice up here. Okay. This is where I hear it. I hear it in myself over here because this is our creative side. I also hear a hissing noise. I've been hearing it in the backside of my head. I think that that's the ego trying to make me upset. Okay. I think that's the parasite. So I give it nothing. It's there. It's always there. I don't get upset about it. There was a time I did. And then I realized, holy shit, I'm feeding this thing. Even with this. And so that's where I saw that walking this shamanic path, that's how you do it, is being honest with yourself, being honest with this chatterbox in your head. And if you start feeling fear, say, wait a minute, I don't have to feel this. It sounds simple, and yet it's complex at the same time. We have to keep diligent on it. That's something that is just part of humanity with this outside force. I don't think it'll be that way. Okay. When we're able to starve the parasites of their food and they go away, I think everything's just going to naturally and magically be different.
I would agree. So, obviously you've taken a long route from having death. So let's talk about that since you brought that up a little bit. So, sure. Death at the center of things, right? A change. Do you think maybe that's why a lot of people have a challenge moving from one place to another, afraid of the death, afraid of letting go of something?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what and thank you for that. You've led me into where I need to speak. The one of the things about being a shaman is dying to everything every day. One of our sayings is, today is a good day to die. Okay, I start every day like that. Every time I wake up from a sleep period, because I don't have days and nights. I have sleep periods periodically whenever my body tells me it's time to get rest. So I just got off. My mind just went. What was I covering?
Death.
Yeah, thank you. Dying to everything is the best way to be, because people don't do it because they get used to the routine. That's what the ego likes. It likes routine. It likes repetitive. That's why the schooling system works so well on humans, getting people to memorize things. The ego just thrives on that. That's where the ego is really formed, is in the early schooling, to teach people memorization. That's, to me, is the whole entire purpose of it, is to teach people to be good little balls of ego. That's what I call it. When I see people doing things that I know is ego, I just call them little balls of ego, because they're just bouncing around. Okay. It isn't evil. It just wants us to be busy. It wants us to have fear so that it feels alive, like it's protecting us. That's the battle. Okay. And so when you learn to die to something, to let go of something, then the ego is powerless. And then it says, and that's what it takes, is the repetition of those dying moments. I mean, there's been times in my life, Lorenzo, where as part of my training, I had inner guidance to know I was to leave everything. Just walk away, get in my car, take a few things that I needed for immediate help, a couple of changes of clothes, a weapon if I had one, and just leaving everything behind. And I've done that several times. And yet here I am, surrounded by material objects again, because I was proving to myself, I am a creator being. I am the one that creates this into my life. And I can leave it at any moment. I can leave these things. I could do the same thing now. Marcela wouldn't like it, but she doesn't understand it in that way. She's a Pisces, and she's a nest builder. So she likes to build these nests. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having material things. It's the attachment, and the attachment of all of the things that we believe, that because we've been taught these things. And when I say taught, I mean we've been taught to memorize. That's the battle that exists in each and every one of us. The majority of people just don't even know. They don't know that they've got an ego in them. They just follow those things. I call them ricochets, where it just ricochets from one thing to another. I'm hungry, I'll eat. I got to work. I go to work. It's just, they get stuck in that, and to sit down and see what the TV tells them to do. Okay. Because it puts everybody in that alpha state, and they're being taught to create what the dark wants. So, yeah.
What would you say is a good starting point for people that are watching this? As I come across, and I have come across a lot of people that say they want to be free, say they want better lives, say they would like some abundance, say they would like community, all of those things. And they're just not sure what to do next, right? They usually have, a whole bunch of fear stopping them. So what would you maybe suggest as a good starting point for people that are watching this, or have watched something similar to this, and would like to make a move and haven't been able to do that yet for themselves?
Facing the fear, being honest with yourself, and knowing that it's gaining the knowledge that you will always make it through, no matter what you experience. Okay. There's always been this caveat, until you die. That's part of the control. Until you die in the physical, that's part of it, because everybody says, yeah, but if I do that, I might do something that will cause me to die.
Right. Yeah.
What if I make it through this one thing? Yeah, that's fine. This is the ego talking. Okay. I've come to understand how it talks, and I've said, I comprehend how it talks. I'll get on that thing about understand later. You'll see me correct myself. And this is the thing, is you have to always correct yourself when it uses words and spells that just feel natural. I've used the word understand so long, like everybody else has, that it just comes out naturally. Okay. But it's the willingness and the intent to break that. And that's why I'm literally stopping what I want to tell the people to tell them something else, because it's that important, so that we comprehend. And this is how you you tame the ego. And you face these fears. What does a person do? Ease into it. Don't try to do things hard. The ego will give you all kinds of things to distract you. That will happen. So when you ease into it, you say, no, I'm not going to do it that way.
Mm.
Okay. I'm going to face this one. I'm going to talk to this person. Let's say it's talking to a person that's been harsh to you. I'm going to talk to this person. I'm going to do that. When the ego goes, no, they're going to cause problems in our life. And no, I'm going to go talk to them. I'm going to face this fear, or whatever it is, tackling a task. If you're afraid of going somewhere, face it, do it. And then you've got to always counteract the inner dialogue, that inner chatter. Okay. To always correct, speak in I am, I have, it is. That keeps us in the present. The ego can only perceive what is behind us in the past and what it wants or thinks is going to happen in the future. It'll always throw guesses out. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. When in truth, the way you create and the way that I know it is that when you create in the now, you are moving forward. You're expanding. We don't have time. That's the ego, so that it can keep track of things. When you live in the now, and honestly, I don't expect anybody to get to this level in one day, because you have to be nice to yourself, be easy on yourself. This takes time and effort. Okay. But it can be an easy effort, and it's just continually correcting yourself. We have a thing that I developed a long time ago to, when you catch yourself doing something incorrectly, you stop yourself and say, cancel, 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 clear, 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 cancel, cancel, cancel. And what that does is it's a clean wipe. It's like a multiple wipe of a hard drive. Okay. And I've said it in my mind. That means I'm starting from scratch. Okay. You don't beat yourself up, because that's what the ego wants. Okay. The ego thinks that if you're giving it shit, that it's alive, and that see, I am you. See, you are talking to me. Okay. And it's no, you have a job to do, and that's to stop me from hurting myself twice and to help me communicate. Okay. And part of that, keeping us aware of possible dangers, can be a person that wants to cause problems with us. Okay. Or for us. And so the ego's good at that. Okay. And so you can listen to it and say, no, I'm going to judge it from here now. I'm going to judge it from the solar plexus. No, you're just being silly. I talk to it as a tool. Okay. Because it's not a thing. That's why I tell people it's not the ego. It's just ego. Okay. It's a frequency that we exist in, just like the frequency of love or emotion, pain. Any of it is a frequency. And so you get to attune how that frequency works within you. Okay. And that happens by constant keeping it in check. Okay. To where you think about things and operate in the now. You don't just, that's what the ego wants, is quick reaction, because it can cause something that helps keep it alive in its understanding of things. Okay. For lack of a better term. So this is what I want people to know. Just be easy with yourself, but at the same time, be honest with yourself. Okay. That's the way it really works. And never, ever give in. And when you do, when you make a mistake, you say, oh, I said that incorrectly. I did that incorrectly. Cancel, 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 clear, 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 cancel, cancel, cancel. And the reason I speak it is because when we put it into the ether, this is where the creation begins, the word. Okay. It puts the vibration of creation out, and universe, as a potential of all things, listens to us implicitly. That's why we can bring in things that we think aren't good for us. Okay. That's why it seems to happen that way. But you're the one that did it just by using the words. And the thing is we've been doing this all of our lives. And so it seems like it's natural. Doing it differently takes a little time. And then you start realizing that if I live in the now, I'm aware of the past, but I live here. This is where we create the change. That helped a little.
It did. I mean, so let's say someone's facing that and the fears are coming. I like to look at it as, you get "are you sure's" from the universe. As soon as, let's say you're going to stop eating chocolate cakes, maybe the neighbor's going to show up the next day with 3 freshly baked chocolate cakes and go, "Are you sure they're for you?" Right. And, I think it's the universe's way of helping you exercise, let's say, your new choices.
Exactly. Yeah.
But how would you suggest perhaps someone listening, because I know it's important to get a pause, like you said, so you're not reacting, right? You're acting instead from that. So how could they get a pause for these fears that they're coming, do you think, for their new way of being, if something hits them on the road to change?
It's always being flexible. Okay. We're resilient. We are very resilient. And like I said earlier about, look how long they've tried to take us out, and yet we're still here. Okay. Know that about yourself. Be resilient. If you make mistakes, if you're having problems, always come back to your center. This is where meditation comes in. Making meditation a part of your life. Don't look at it as as something you have to do. Look at meditation. And meditation can take many different forms. The meditation that I use a lot is second attention meditation, to where I'm doing one thing, but my mind is somewhere else. I let my body take over. Okay. If I'm doing my drawings or something like that, anything that is a body knowledge. It happens driving a lot, where people, it can be called daydreaming, but when you take control of it and you know that you are meditating, as this becomes part of your life, you can, and it is good to take the time to sit in a position still with either soft music or silence. That's very beneficial. But we can use meditation through our life, through our days, and that helps the pause that you're talking about.
Right.
Okay. You mentioned it, because the ego wants to snap at something that you learn. It's a learning process. You learn to say, no, let's look at this for a moment. How do I really feel about this? And so that's something that you acquire. Okay.
For sure.
I've been doing this for 40 years, literally 40 years, and I'm still learning. Okay. So, but it's the intent. Okay. I don't want to, as I'm saying this, I don't want to scare people and thinking, oh my God, because the ego sees these big time spans and they think, oh my God, I've got to do this for 40 years. When no, you're not doing it for 40 years. You're doing it right now. This is where the learning happens, is right now. And whenever you catch yourself doing something incorrectly, something that you were taught by the controllers, you can stop it, clear it, and move on.
Yeah, I take long walks. I know people that can dance or draw. It really depends on how you want to, gain that pause for themselves. I would feel,
walking. That's great.
I would feel people need to feel or find their own predilections, as in what works for them and what doesn't work for them, for getting that pause.
Right.
Maybe we can go back to understanding. I know you mentioned you wanted to talk about that for correcting yourself on the words and what they mean and what they create for you.
Okay. Last night I had a very powerful contemplation. It was a meditation, but it wasn't the meditation to empty the mind. I wanted to think about things. I wanted to look at things. And so what I call that is surfing the stream of consciousness. And so I don't judge anything. I just look at what's going by. I don't put anything upon it until something really starts coming up in the stream. And last night it was words. And then I saw spells. And I was like, wow, this is how they get us. I could see how how they get people to control themselves, so that they don't have to put a prison around us, because they know that we'll rebel against that. So they teach us to do it on our own. And so I was in this really awesome place, and I was seeing these how things are how we do things so unconsciously. And that's what I'm doing is trying to face them. I am facing them consciously. See, I just did it right there. That was a self-correction. I said try. Try is the most evil word in creation. Okay. I know it was used in the Star Wars. I don't care how it gets taught. Don't try, do. Okay. So I am doing these things. And so the word understand came up because I've been working on correcting that to using the word comprehend.
Mm.
I just do it in midstream. You've seen me do it here in our talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving the way to do it without having to tell how to do it. I'm just doing it. Okay. And I guess this is what I've never really thought of myself as a teacher. I've always been a researcher, a studier, a learner, I'm a doer. And so I want people to see that these words are controlling us without us even knowing it. So this word, understand. Now, like I was mentioning earlier, what I did was what I do is when this happens, and if I'm in front of my computer, I can instantly do a search real quick. And so I just typed in the word understand. And then I started following things, etymology, excuse me. And then I saw something that I normally wouldn't have clicked on because it was a foreign language, but I clicked on it anyways. And it was really good that I did, because this laid out a different explanation of how the controllers have used the word understand, that word alone, understand, to get us unconsciously, subconsciously, to follow them along, to look at them as the leaders. Okay. So when you're understanding everything and they say, do you understand? And you say, yes, you have just given your power to them.
Mm.
And that's what we as humans, creator beings, need to take control of, is when are we giving away our power? Okay. Our energy. There's times that we want to do that. That's when you're going to heal someone or offer them compassion. Then you're lovingly giving them energy, but they aren't taking it. So you're only giving what your body needs to give, or what your whole beingness is able to give. Okay, so they take as much as they can get. That's why we have times where you get exhausted, because they're draining all. And this can be a person who has been completely infiltrated by the parasites. They're the people that we call energy vampires. Anybody in this realm of understanding, of comprehension, see, how easily it comes. How well people who comprehend this way of being and who we are. Okay, so this is what I want people to work on. This. It would be wonderful if people to work on this, on their verbiage, because it isn't a lexicon, it's a hexagon. It's keeping us in a hex. And that's why words are spells, so that you learn to spell. You have cursive. And I know there's other people that have covered this. This isn't new stuff, but I want to bring it into people's awareness that when you're doing these things, if you're doing it their way, you're giving your power away. But if you take control of it, yes, the words are still spells. The words are still spells, but you're doing it in a light, beneficial, what would be considered, I guess, white magic. You're doing it for your benefit and the benefit of mankind. So we can't get away from it until we've moved through this and we start creating spells that are, words that are in our highest good. Then that'll allow us to start learning how, again, because we're always telepathic. Okay. We're just not aware of that telepathy. Okay. But people have experienced these things all the time, that knowing who's on the phone before it even rings, you're going to be hearing from this person. That's a psychic connection. That's telepathy. And so this is where we're heading to. But right now, in this now, people need to be very diligent on how they use their word. And that's what I came to. That's the thing about understand and understanding. So you want to be careful when you're talking to someone. I can't think of an example right now, but in a courtroom, when you walk in, you're walking in as a straw person, as a straw man, and they say, you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand? And you say, yes. You have given your power away to them, and they know it. And that's why there's this unconscious, the judge is higher than you. Okay. That's why they do these things. I don't want to go off into maritime law, but it's used against us. It's used to keep us in check so that we don't go rampant with our creation of beauty. Okay. That's what we're meant to be, is creators of beauty. Okay. That's what the Twisteders are all about. You know, Great Spirit, may I walk in beauty. And that's always in the back of our mind. So
I hear you. That's the most beautiful thing I've heard in a long, long time. You know, living in beauty, creating in beauty, you know, understanding perhaps, and I'll use that word on purpose this time, that you are the creator of your life. Because if you're going to understand something, you might as well understand that. And,
exactly.
You know,
exactly. It's using it to the benefit. Yes. Yes.
And if you, and as you said, if you learn to take full responsibility for your day-to-day actions, thoughts, beliefs, desires, you know, fill in the rest for yourself, then, you know, you can begin, I would say, on the path of the shaman, for lack of a better way to put it, because then you become, you know, the creator of your own path.
Exactly. I know that I do this, and this is something that I have to use, where I say, I am a shaman. Okay. You are a shaman. The reality is, there is being shaman, and being shaman is walking the path of righteousness, of knowing that everything that you're doing is for your highest good and for the highest good of anyone involved. And if you're conscious about that, you're careful what you say, because you know that if you say the wrong things, you can create what is not in the highest good for someone. Okay. That's taking responsibility of your creatorship. This is a divine gift. Okay. The present is a divine gift. That's why they call it the present, because it's a gift. And so when you use it responsibly, you are being a creator. You're not at the whim of somebody getting you to create something for them. Okay. That's the beauty of all this. There's a poem actually about being in beauty. You say, Great Spirit, may I walk in beauty. Great Spirit, when I walk forward, may I walk in beauty. To the right of me, let there be beauty. To the left of me, let there be beauty. And wherever I have been, let me only leave beauty. Great Spirit, may I walk in beauty. So this is the way to be an awake, not woke, an awakened human being that takes responsibility for their creations. That's what this is all about. And that's why the work that I do, I haven't always done this. Everything's a morphing learning. Before, I was going out into the ethers on my own. I had the sweet medicine. I say on my own, I'm always with sweet medicine. They're always with me. And I would go through the ethers. And if you want a visual picture of kind of what I see, is this, it looks like twilight. There is a rollingness. There's larger mounds of things. You don't go to places. You think, I am there, and then you're there. And I would go out, and my intent was find some demons that don't need to be here anymore. That was my whole goal. Okay. Find parasites that don't need to be here anymore. I was using love and still operating in love, but I was operating in fierce love. Love is everything. And so knowing that when you're doing what's needed to be done to bring the highest good to humanity, in my path, while I'm in the ethers, at that time, my whole goal was to cause as much disruption with the dark forces as possible. And that was by being light and using love but using it fiercely. And that was, I put them into a device that I created that shrinks them into nothingness, and then I shove them into the great abyss. They don't have to be dealt with anymore. Eventually, they'll return to source. What this does, when I'm doing that work, is it creates difficulties for the dark forces and all the machinations that they're doing to try and keep us under control and to kill us. Okay, and so what happened was there was 3 or 4 friends that Marcela was talking with online. You may even know a couple of them, and they told her that they were having problems with this, that, or the other. And then she would mention it to me. And I was like, well, these things are occurring where I go. And she was like, no, okay. And I was like, let me go out and see what I can do right now, just without any permissions, because I always have to work with permissions because of karma. Okay. And so, but I can check things out. I can assess, I can do some recon and see what the situation is. I can see you in your astral, whoever you are, and I can see what's attached to your astral body. I'm not interfering with you karmically. I'm not doing anything. I'm not taking them away. So I told Marcela, tell them that if they want to invite me in to help them, there's no karma. We have a contract. And so they would ask me, can you help me? And I would say, yes, I will see if I can. And I believe I can. So I would go out knowing that I can't heal anybody because everyone has to heal themselves. What I do is I create a safe space, and I hate, that's really a term that has been really abused, okay, because egos need safe spaces. But what I do is I clear out an area that's free of being manipulated by the demonic forces, okay? It's not safe. If I were to go away and to drop those protections, the demons and the parasites just reattach. It's just a thing that happens. That's what they do. And the reason they do is because they know they're going to get fed. And so what I do is I come in and I clear the area. I clear them off. I take off the entities, whatever they are. If they're not there for their highest good, and there's nothing going to attach and feed on you that's for your highest good. So I send them into the abyss, and then I hold that area. And the way I hold that area is by using sweet medicine. The sweet medicine come in, and you have to really use visualization in this. These are large 13, 15-foot bears that operate a lot on their hind legs. They do drop onto all fours. There's wolves. These wolves they come up to my chest. There's ravens that are twice the length of my arms. There's red hawks that can fly so high and see such small things. And so they all work with me. And when I say, if I slip up and say I use them, please know that there's no using them. You couldn't if you wanted to, okay? But we have an understanding. We work together. I look to them for guidance. They look to me for guidance. And so when someone asks me to help them, what is occurring is I'm around their astral body. I clear that area, sweet medicine, and I hold that area. And then, because recently, a short while ago, I opened up to working with the angelics, and they're very hesitant to work with us. They do work with us, but because of karma, they're very, very careful. Okay, because when people say, what is the difference between being created and the angels? The angels, they're supposedly an envy that we are created and they are made. Okay, that's the difference. So they have to be very careful of karma when they come in. But when they do, they'll give you great insights. And they told me how to create this angelic metal. Okay, now imagine in your mind a device that has one ring, a second ring, and then a third ring, all moving in different directions. Okay, it becomes a metallic sphere. It's moving so fast. Now, in physical terms, if you were to wonder how big it is around you, it's about 10 feet around you, okay? 10 feet out from your body. That's how big this is. And it goes under where you stand and goes up above you. I have that spinning, Okay. You're in that. And then what happens is when I do the clearing, I kind of talked out of turn. When I do the clearing, the first thing I do is I seal your cords, because the cords is how they're feeding. The cords come out of your belly button, but they can get into them through your backside. They usually hang on our backs. And so the cords wrap around and go inside of them, and that's how they're feeding. So I clean that off, I clear them off, and I immediately seal them with love, okay? And then immediately I put them into the small of the back and instruct them, because I'm connected to them. I would be connected to them as anybody connects to anybody else. And because I've been invited in and I'm not creating karma, I can guide their cords to come through them, they come out, and then they just go in all different directions and wrap, and they naturally form an egg. And that egg is about 2 feet out from us. It's 2 inches in to our body. It's 2 feet below us, 2 feet above us. And what happens is, this happens, you can literally, it's like watching a spider web grow. It literally grows out and grows out. And then what I instruct the person to do is to imagine that happening, okay? Because nothing happens in this universe, Lorenzo, without imagination happening first, okay? You have to first imagine something. We've been taught and hypnotized into thinking that if you use your imagination, you're silly or you're crazy. And because it's the father of lies, man. He lies about everything. Everything that we're experiencing in this universe is inverted. So it's up to us to set things straight, to set things the way they're meant to be. And so when you use your imagination, okay, with intent, I'm going to tighten this up. I'm going to expand it and then tighten it and expand it and tighten it. It becomes so impregnable, the demons can't attach to you. Okay, you can still be manipulated because of your thoughts if you're operating an ego. So you have to, that's where you're using both of these things at the same time to keep free of those things that want to control you. And then you start understanding that whatever you imagine with intent will start coming to you. Now, a caveat I give people is when they hear these words, what they'll do is they'll sit there and they'll say, QuietBear says it's as easy as imagining something and it'll happen, okay? But what they're not realizing is they've been doing this for so long. Their sphere of creation, they've been doing things, creating things that are causing issues and problems for so long that the way the universe works, if we were to get whatever we want in an instant, can you imagine the chaos? If somebody were to think whatever, and there's billions of us thinking whatever, and it's happening, there would be no reality. So it has to be something that you grow into, knowing you're creating it. See, right now, people don't know they're creating it. They think something else is doing it to them. They don't want to take the responsibility that they've created it. They didn't create it with intent. They created it because they were fooled into creating it for the dark forces. So once you take control of your thoughts, once you are intent and you know that your imagination is the key to the entire universe, because the thing is when we do have that imagination, the universe is starting it. It starts in motion. You don't see it. It's happening in potential. Those things will start. And if you were to focus on that imagination, that thing that you're imagining, and you were to do it over and over for in the now, and I don't want to say days and days and days, I'm just saying in the now, continually imagining the same thing. I have this. Universe says, okay, you have it. Okay. Because that's the key. If you say, I want, the universe is going, it just automatically lets you experience the experience of wanting.
For sure.
Okay. Yes, eventually, if you want something long enough, something's going to happen. You're going to get some money. You say, hey, I've always wanted this thing, so I'm going to use money. In creation, people have been fooled into thinking they need money. Okay. That they need Babylonian magic squares, as Owen Benjamin likes to say. Okay. I love that term. People have been taught, okay, what do people think of when they hear of law of attraction. First thing they start doing is what? Wanting to create
Usually,
money.
yeah.
Okay. I intend that I have $1 million. I have $1 million, when they're not realizing that what they should be doing is focusing on creating the thing that they desire. Okay. When you're doing that, it might take money to do that. It might take somebody giving it to you. It may, who knows? When you try, the ego is what tries to make it happen a certain way. It lays out the plan. It's going to happen this way, this way, this way. And if it doesn't happen that way, by God, it's not going to happen. And the universe, because you're a part of the universe, lovingly lets you experience that. But when you live in the I am, I have, it is, we are, that's living in the now. That's bringing it into the now. And then over doing that repetitiously, making that part of your emoting, then the universe is bringing things. And then without even realizing it, you're just living the life you always knew you were meant to live. I'm not saying that you have everything to your little desires. The universe doesn't work that way. We don't work that way right now. We will when we aren't affected by the parasites, making the ego think it's alive. Okay. So that's it. Once a person gets into that mode of thinking, knowing that their imagination is the key, and that they could even be imagining something that they don't realize that's bringing in the things that are issues. So that's it in a elevator speech.
No, it's a good way to put things. It's a good, I don't want to say beginning point, because, we're far beyond the beginning points in what we can do. And, yes. I don't want to get it too deep into something I want to talk with you about in our next video, or one of the ones coming up. But, so once you offer, let's say, the healing services you've just described, it sounds to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that you're giving or helping people gain that first pause for themselves.
Yes.
So that because it's kind of like if someone goes on a diet and goes back to bad eating habits, they're going to gain weight again. Or if someone goes back to drinking again, their liver's not going to heal, etc. So you're, as a shaman, helping people maybe get that first leg up, we'll say, and then they have to.
I'm sorry, I interrupt.
Go ahead. No, that's okay. And then they have to continue on for themselves, I would guess.
Absolutely.
Right.
I'm not going to be in their lives forever. Okay. Other than maybe for a friend, and I won't need to, because they will be handling things with their power, with their creative power, the spark of creator that they have. When people own that, they'll just naturally start taking care of themselves. And, and I instruct people when I'm working with them that they have to do the work. I can provide the protected area, the area that they can work in, because when that first happens, it can be a shock to people, because they realize after a short period of time, wow, I've got energy. I've never felt this way. And it can actually scare people into, I better, what was I doing, to do this? This is too much power. And that's okay. I'll help guide them into understanding, to comprehending, understanding in a good way, that I'm showing them how they can create the things that they want in life that are bringing their highest good. Okay. And so that's what I offer. And as well, there will come a time what's evolving, becoming part of the hub with you, and doing this work with these people. Right now, there's a very large amount of people that want assistance. And so it was a large inundation where, like I have been telling Marcela, we're whelmed, but not overly so. Okay. Yes, it's whelming. Wow. There's a lot of people that want to stand in their own power. I don't want people thinking that they're coming to me to get saved. I don't want them to think that they're coming to me to get healed, because I'm going to show them how to use their power to heal themselves, protect themselves, walk in their power, and be divine, sovereign souls that we were meant to be.
Beautiful.
Okay? That's what this is all about. That's why I'm coming out. And I'm telling you, I'm being honest. If someone tries to make me out as a savior and they want to follow me, they're going to get a piece of my mind. I'm going to tell them, stop being an ego, step back, stand in your own power. I'm not going to ever let it. have to, because I'm not operating an ego. I haven't been operating an ego for quite some time. I tamed it a long time ago. Yes, it still tries to rear its head and think that it's in control. And I just instantly, and it knows, okay, it's almost a game now. Okay. I'm telling you, it can actually get to a point in your life, and when I'm saying you, not just you, Lorenzo, the person listening to this, you can get to a point in your life where you know that it's just a tool. Okay. You know that the ego isn't you. And so it'll try to control you, and you smack it down with a thought. Shut up. I'm not listening to you. I'm not fearful. I'm courageous. I'm a warrior. Why would a warrior listen to this fearful crap? Okay. And so that's what being a warrior is. A warrior isn't going out rat-a-tat-tat. A warrior is holding up the mirror of self-reflection and the mirror of dark reflection. It's being able to look at yourself clearly, being honest with yourself, and to look into, I'm using this as a metaphor. You look into your dark self, in the darkness of yourself, and you realize it's not as bad as you thought it was. You're not as bad as you thought it was. The ego builds these things up into monsters in our dark, in our pain bodies. Okay. I'm going to come to a moment where I'm showing people how they can heal their pain body. The pain body wants the pain. It's part of the ego. It gets used to the pain. Okay. There was a time in where I got my real lesson on pain. On my right calf, in the middle of my calf, just off to the side, in 2006, I was bit by a brown recluse spider. And I didn't know that I'd been bit. And I was having a party over at my apartment. I was leaning against the wall, talking to somebody. And there was a person, people were sitting on the floor and stuff, and somebody was sitting next to me. And she said, "Bear, did you get bit?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Wow, look at that." And I looked down, there was two parallel holes. So, wow, it looks like a spider bite. And I touched it, and it opened up. It had been festering, and I didn't know I was bit. I went through a period of pain. I never went to the hospital because of MRSA, okay, the MRSA. I wouldn't go to the hospital because I had a big open wound on my leg. But I knew I was a creator being. I knew I was testing myself, and I knew that I had to get through this on my own, and I did. I healed myself with my own intention, using other products. I used antibiotics directly into the wound. But there was a moment, Lorenzo, I got out of bed. I had this big open wound. I wasn't keeping it wrapped at that time because I was trying to let it dry out. It was real wet. This thing was about this big. Okay. Got out of my bed, and I was walking through the kitchen out into the living room to get on the computer in the middle of the night. It was pitch dark in my apartment. I had a milk crate, you know, those hard plastic milk crates that everybody uses for everything. I had one sitting right to the side of my pathway into the living room. And the top corner of this thing was right at the height of my wound. And not knowing, I full swung. I stepped with my left foot past it, not realizing it was there. And I swung full leg into that thing, and it was up against a wall. Okay, partially up against the wall. So there was no give. Okay, I fell forward. I'll remember this for as long as I live, because I learned so much from it. I examined the pain. When I fell down, I blacked out for a moment, and I came to. There was so much pain emanating from my calf that I couldn't get away from it. There was no getting. I couldn't take a shot. I couldn't take a pill. There was no, and I knew I'm laying there in the dark. Nobody knows I'm here. Nobody knows this is happening. I am in the worst pain I could ever remember. And I thought, well, since I'm here, I might as well see what pain really is. Okay. It was a teacher. It wanted to show me something. And it showed me that pain is a teacher. It isn't our enemy. It's there to warn us. I got to see how, and I know it sounds ipso facto, as if it just should be a known thing, but I was very careful not to get bit by a spider again. Okay. I was aware of my surroundings. I think I know where it happened. I was working in a nursery. I was working around cactus. I remember seeing him move around. I remember seeing him go. And I was in this time in my life where I don't need to kill him. I just didn't, I didn't need to kill the spider. And I think that spider taught me a lesson.
Okay, we took a pause.
Yes,
We've decided while we had this pause that this lovely video is going to be called Walking in Beauty. And then Marcela popped in even before we decided to call it that. So here she is. Hello, Marcela.
Hello to everyone.
This is the beautiful Marcela that I've been telling everybody about. I could not do what I do without this beautiful soul.
Thank you.
So
What else can I say?
that's so amazing. So I'm going to use this moment to maybe let our viewers know that's something I've always wanted to do myself. And I see another friend of yours joining you behind you right there.
That would be girl.
Is that the importance of healthy relationships, I think, for shamans and everyone else, to see how men and women can work happily, lovingly, and powerfully together.
Yes.
Without giving up their souls or ideas or anything like that, and to stay strong in who they are, how they are, and what they would like to do.
She is a divine creator being and powerful in her own right. I tell her every day how powerful of a creator she is. And
he tells me to pat it in.
Yeah, you got to pat it in. I want
Marcela, could you come down a little so we can see your face? Yes.
Sorry.
I had mentioned this before. She and I work as a team in the tonal and the nagwal. The tonal is the everyday life that we live, where we're sitting here talking, where we make appointments and work with people. That is the tonal. I work in the nagwal. The nagwal is the ethers, the spiritual realms, all the realms that are non-physical. And so that's why I say to people, I could not do what I do without her. I couldn't handle all this tonal stuff, connecting with people, emailing people, sending out information to people.
Cooking, cleaning, taking care of the dogs.
Cooking, cleaning, taking care of the dogs. She's spectacular at that stuff. And I try to help where I can, but I have a thing that I'm working on. I have an issue with, because of the work that I do, it's literally a non-stop battle against these demonic forces. They're constantly wanting to draw me down, weaken me, make me feel like I'm worthless. It's always there.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
Yeah. And so sometimes it can get really intense. And because of the hours that I keep, I mean, I usually work between 18 and 20 hours a day. I get my sleep, wherever I can. That's why I have sleep periods, and to be with her as often as I can. And so, hello, girl. And so
she insists.
I just want the world to know that I couldn't do what I do without her. She's, and when you find a partner in your life that you can work with like this, where you can work in balance, where you can each do your roles, that you choose, that you work out together
and support each other
in those roles.
It's a magical thing.
It is.
It is.
Yes, it's magic.
I would agree 100%. My wife does the same for me. It's some of the things that I wanted to share. Perhaps one day we'll be able to do couples counseling together, because I think I think that's the best way to allow people to see how love can blossom, and not in the sappy romantic nonsense movie way, but more in an authentic, down dirty and up higher, that a man and woman can work together, are meant to work together. To support themselves to freedom, I would say, loving freedom.
Yes.
Well put.
Allow me real quick. I want to tell how we met. I've had nothing but incredible magical experiences most of my life, especially since I had my near-death experience in 1982. In the year 2000, I went to what was called a psychic fair. I'm sure a lot of people have been to them. Where there's psychics all over and crystals and all that kind of stuff. And I was working at the place. Sorry.
It's all right.
Wait, okay.
So I got it. You talk.
And so I knew several of the psychics in the psychic fair. And I worked at the place that it was being held at. And but I'd never gotten a reading because I did my own readings. I did my own stuff, my own inner work. But this one lady, who was a psychic, apparently a very well-known one at the time. This was back, like I said, 2000. And so she says, I want to do a reading on you. I've had thoughts about you and I want to share it with you. And I said, sure, why not? Never done it before. So I sit down and she looks at my palms and she does some cards and stuff like that. And she says, well, basically you're on a power path. And I said, yes, I know that. And she said, you've had 2 great loves in your life and you'll have 1 more great love in your life. And you'll be meeting her off in the distance. I don't know, 6, 8 years. And she goes, I don't know exactly when it is, but it's out that time frame. And you're going to meet her in Santa Fe, and it's going to be in a place of silence. And okay, so I was like, okay, all right. I'd already gone through my training and stuff, my official 7 years of training, and I was just getting to my feel for being a shaman on my own. And so she described her. She's almost your height, little bit shorter. She's got dark hair. I think she might be Hispanic. I was like, oh wow, okay, that's. I'm hearing about something 8 years in the future, 8, 9 years in the future. I was like, okay, gosh, that just sounds great. And she goes, but you're going to be meeting the love of your life. I said, great. Went on with life. Life went on. Okay. 8 years later, my son contacts me. One of my sons, Matthew, contacts me. He says, hey, Dad, I'm going to Santa Fe to go to college at the College of Santa Fe. And I said, really? And he goes, yeah. And I had forgotten it. I'd forgotten about Santa Fe. And literally when he said that, I remembered it. I remembered that thing. I said, so, really, going to Santa Fe? And he goes, yeah, you want to come with me? Because I could sure use your help on this movie, because I've never moved out of state. You know, I'm just a kid. And I'm like, absolutely. I said,
absolutely.
Sure. I wasn't, I because of the life I created, I said, yeah, I can do that. Let's go. I'll head out with you. And so the journey began, and we headed out to Santa Fe, and we were in Santa Fe for about 3.5, 4 months. And one thing led to another. I was doing this, that, and the other. And we picked up a freezer off of Craigslist for free. One of those big stand-up freezers. And we were unloading it. And the 2 guys were at the back, and I got up into the trunk. It was laying on its side. There wasn't much room. It was one of those narrow bedded trucks. And I grabbed the back of the freezer and started pulling. I told him, lift it up so the tailgate doesn't catch it. And the guy goes, what? And I'm already pushing. And I said, lift up the whole back end of the freezer, because it was empty, lifted up on me. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I lost my balance. And I had one leg inside the pickup bed, and one leg out on or 1 foot out on the wheel well. And it was a short bed truck. And I had one moment where I was like, if I fall, I'm going to snap this leg. And if I snap this leg, I'm going to land on my arm, and I'm going to snap this arm. Time completely slowed down. It was like the weirdest slow motion thing. And I was like, okay, I got to lift my foot. And I pushed off of the wheel well, lifted my foot, and jumped. And as I jumped, I turned to my side, and I was like, I'm going to hurt my arm. So I lifted my arm, and I landed on the side of my body perfectly flat. And I compressed my pelvis into 7 big breaks with about 50 or 60 small hairline fractures. So I do the whole hospital thing. The doctor tells me when I'm the first night I'm in the hospital, I was in incredible pain. It's all on morphine and everything. And he says, I want to tell you, looking at your x-rays, you're probably never going to walk again. Well, you'll hobble around. I said, okay, all right. And he says, life's going to be very difficult for you. You may have to be in a wheelchair in a year or 2. I was like, okay. I said, well, we'll see. And so when I got home, about 3 days later, I got home, I was in a wheelchair, trying to move around with a busted up pelvis. The brakes weren't in a way that I needed to be pinned or anything like that. So there was no surgery. So being who I am, being my shamanic path, I contacted a dear friend of mine. His name's Rex. He's a soul brother of mine. And he says, comfrey root and DMSO. I said, okay. He said, it's bone mend. So we went out and bought a shit ton of DMSO and comfrey root, mixed it all together, got some rubber gloves so we didn't get it into our hands. Laying naked, I smeared it all over my pelvis, just smeared it daily. And my intent was, I can walk well. I am healed. I am well constantly. I mean, dude, I was focused healing. 3 weeks later, I was walking with a walker. In that 3 weeks, because I was bored, I was online. I found a guy selling 1,800 chili plants that were starter chili plants for $200. And I thought, okay, I was wanting
New
to
Mexico
grow.
is famous for its
Yeah,
great
there's-
chili.
Oh, I love chilies. I'm laughing
Yeah.
because I just planted some in my window the other day. So yeah.
Excellent. And so I thought, okay, I could buy these chilies for $200. I got 1,800 of them. We could keep like 150 of them and do a whole bunch of chilies out in our backyard because we had this big backyard we were living in. I did not know her yet. Okay.
Let me interject.
Go ahead.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, I was the office manager for the Santa Fe Farmers Market, top 10 farmers markets in the world, making all kinds of contact and stuff. And so the gals over at Farm to Table call me and say, hey, we just saw an ad for this guy that's giving away this basically shit ton of chili plant starters. Would you be interested? And I said, sure, that sounds great. So they gave me the contact number. I called. It happened to be him. We didn't know each other at the time. I said, where do I go to pick him up? And he said, no, I'll come deliver him. So we set up a time. I was living in this great house with a big yard and the whole thing. I see him. Actually, it was his son, Matt, driving the pickup truck. And they come up my driveway and I go out to greet them. I didn't know why when Matt saw me, his jaw dropped and he was getting out of the truck. He was on a walker. And I remember thinking two things. The walker's temporary and where do I know this guy? And so as it turns out, I was the only one that responded to that ad.
I was giving them away for free too. I was giving away
That's great.
1,600 chili plants. I was giving away for free to anybody that wanted them. And she was the only one that contacted.
We have to do a video called Hot Love.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, and when we pulled up, as we're pulling up, she's walking out. What was happening from our side was Matt was like, holy shit, Dad, it is her, because I described her to a T. Okay. I knew who she was going to be. I knew that this was the meeting. I met other people before, but I just knew somehow this was it. And I saw her and I was like, it's her. And he's like, oh my God, Dad, this is so cool.
And he had even described my house.
Yeah. And I described her house. We go in, we start talking. We went out back and we ended up talking for what, like 6 hours? Like 6 hours, and it was on. We fell in love, and then
the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Okay,
and here we are.
Here we are. Well, I have to share my story one day and how I met my wife. I have a similar loving beauty story. I'd be delighted to do more videos along this line. My own counseling services I call In Love Unlimited. I've been doing for a long time. Very much related to what Bear has talked about in this conversation. I don't want to digress. But how love is the ultimate in imagination and creation, and how with the proper loving partner, I think wonders are certainly possible. You've proven it. I've proven it.
Yes.
So perhaps we'll leave this video here, Walking in Beauty. We've got to see Marcela. We've got a great introduction with Bear and his services and what he does and how he does it. Obviously, we're going to do many more videos. Bear and I have discussed perhaps doing this weekly as is possible for us moving forward. I have a whole bunch of topics that we're going to cover. But if any of you have anything you'd like us to chat about, leave the comments below. If anybody wants to reach out to Bear, leave a comment below. We're open to other ways that we can share. Bear will be sharing more articles with us. I'm pretty sure on our website. He's joining our hub. So if anybody else wants to talk about that, leave their information below. And well, I can't believe how delighted I am. I could say I'm gobsmacked and I'm lost, but I can also say I've been found. And honestly, it seems like this is something that I've been working with and for 100 years, but yet it's all come in the now. Very interesting.
Excellent.
Yes, and we're honored to be part of this hub
Yes.
with you and getting out to helping the people stand in their power.
That is beautiful. It's always what I wanted to do. It's always what I've intended. It's always what I've seen through the hardships, through the shenanigans, through the monsters and the fears. Here we are. And Marcela, did you want to share something?
Now, when I came across the new Agora and started reading the articles and stuff, I started sharing them with Bear. I said, God, isn't this guy really cool? Isn't this newsletter really cool? And then you and I started emailing, and look what has emerged.
Yeah, this is awesome. There's more magic to come. There's
way more.
So this is really super awesome, dude. And we're just honored to be here. Okay. And we got a lot to create.
And a little shout out to Julian Rose, who connected us originally. He sent us. So as you're watching this, if you're watching this, Julian, we'd love to chat with you, perhaps all of us on the show one day. And
yes, absolutely.
And we'll cover how we met Julian too. He's wonderful.
That would be great.
Okay.
Our imagination is endless and our creation thus so.
I agree. So that's a beautiful way to end this. Thank you so much, Bear, Marcela, for being here with us. I'll talk to you again soon. I love you all very much. Thank you for joining us here again on Lorenzo's New Now, and we'll see you soon.
Lie to my heart. No one tells me where I should start. Freedom first is what I say.